I am so glad to welcome all of your smiling faces. So exciting, always. Hi, I'm Destiny. I know a lot of you. There's some of you I don't know. Welcome to the store. If it is your first time here, we do have restrooms upstairs and past the registers. So that's where those are. And we have tons of books. So if you haven't already gotten your book, you can go ahead and do that. We are a bookstore, so we do have that. Um, Here at ECB, we heart romance, and we do have another wonderful event coming up, and that is next week, the week after next. Next week, yeah, the week after next with Nalini Singh and Scarlett St. Clair. It is entirely virtual. Sign up. I'm so excited. I think it's going to be a great time. And yeah, I think that's it for announcements. They will be signing after. So just expect that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our conversation partner for today, who is Nikki Payne, who by day is a curious doctor of anthropology in big tech. And by night, she dreams of ways to subvert canon literature. Inspired by Jane Austen, her fresh romances turn expectations on their head and deliver sharp social commentary for the hopeless romantic. Yes! Woo! Her debut novel, Pride and Protest, was a 2022 Phenomenal Book Club pick and has been hailed incandescent by the Washington Post. I like that adjective. Her next novel, Sex, Lies, and Sensibility, is Schitt's Creek meets Insecure and is equal parts hot and heartwarming. I'm ready to. I'm like, stop playing with our emotions. Like, all right. And our lady of the hour, Tracey Livesay, a former criminal defense attorney, finds crafting believable happily ever afters slightly more challenging than protecting our constitutional rights. But she's never regretted following her heart instead of her law degree. She has been featured in Entertainment Weekly, The Washington Post, and CBS This Morning. She lives in Virginia with her husband, who she met on the very first day of law school. It was written in the stars to be a romance author. And it's so wonderful to welcome her here for the Duchess Effect, which, having read, I will say is great. And I think it asks the what if of a happily ever after. So welcome.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And for everyone online, thank you as well. I want to start off the conversation saying what I was saying to you out there is that I'm here in conversation with you, but also as an enormous fan of your work and the way that you talk about your work in particular.
Thank you. Mutual. Thank you.
Thank you for writing Queens. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but I have a Barbie. I'm gonna like pass this Barbie around because we're gonna talk today, obviously, about this fantastic book, but we're also gonna talk a little bit about how we begin to become storytellers. And for a lot of us, like telling these stories with Barbies and elaborate, tales that we spun with Barbies, she was this aspirational character. And when I thought of Dani and her skincare line, when I thought of her turning eventually into royalty, I thought of like all of our Barbie dreams. Right? I really did. So a Barbie dream houses even, right?
Yes.
So I thought of her as a way to ask you and introduce this first question, like, what was your inspiration for writing this story?
Well, first, thank you for being here with me. I appreciate it. And second, I am old enough that I did not have Black Barbie. There was not Black Barbie. There was Christy.
I know this.
That's right. Yes. So I had Christy. So that is like, yes. My inspiration for writing Dani/Duchess was a couple of things. It was watching Harry and Meghan's wedding and seeing all of the royalty rubbing elbows with celebrities. And it just felt like this very incestuous world, like where they all knew each other and they were all date each other and dance and go to the reception and have all that good stuff. And we're on the outside, like, how do we get in? How do we, it's not our world. So that really interested me. And then specifically the idea of a rapper and a prince came from Cardi B's Harper Bazaar photo shoot, where she did these different fairy tale vignettes. And one of them was her running away from a castle in a Vera Wang gown with her little Jimmy Choo shoe on the side. And it was just like, never thought about that. Never thought about the idea of a rapper with a member of the British royal family. And to be honest, until Meghan, I think the idea of writing a Black heroine as a princess or in a royalty story, it felt like you had to make up something, like we had to do another Moldovia or whatever, the Genovia or whatever, right? Like we had to make up, this place. And I knew that with Meghan, the one thing I did not have to worry about was whether or not this would be realistic or whether or not this would happen. Like that shut that shit down. So that now it's just about my take on that story.
Oh, first of all, you answered a lot of questions. So rude. Rude. Second is, I love that you talked about like starting with that royal wedding. What did research look like, particularly for this second book? Was it inspired by some of the mess, right, that we're seeing now?
It wasn't, because the book was written before the documentary and before Spare. If I'd had Spare when I was writing, y'all don't know. Like I read so many books. I watched so many no one's watching this. I watched so many like VPN documentaries trying to find the details that I needed, right? Because the big stuff is out there, but I didn't know like how their households were set up. How much protection do they get from the royal protection officer? I didn't know what it looked like to be a royal and go to an event and what like all those flashes were like. I didn't know the machinations of the British press at that time. Like there were so many details and items that I needed for my story that I didn't know, that if I'd had the documentary or Spare, it would have made it a lot easier. By the time I was writing the second book, we'd already had the Oprah interview, and that it was illuminating, but it was really sad at the same time, because I'd had in my head the happy ever after I wanted for them. And the Oprah interview was like, it may not look like that. And so when I was writing The Duchess Effect, I really was like, no, I am writing this happily ever after that we want, that we should have gotten. And as I was writing it, and of course, because of who Dani Duchess is, it just became clear that it was going to have to look different just because of who she is as a character. And to be true to who she is as a character, how her viewpoint is, how she views the world, the things that are important to her. There were things she could not ignore. And so it was important that I address those things in the book. So it was kind of sad, because it meant that happy ever after that I initially thought would be in the book and how it would look, sort of like Coming to America at the end. Well, is that too old? I'm skewing too old. It wasn't going to look like that, probably.
Honestly, speaking of Dani and who she is, I'm thinking of like females in the rap game, oftentimes seen as like rough or gruff or over sexualized or trading on sexuality, right? In order to like oftentimes rise up in the rap game, and like and combining that with a person who deserves a happy ever after. I think that was revolutionary work. Can you talk a little bit about like about why it was important to you to make this person a rapper?
I have to admit that I fell into that stereotype too, like in the beginning as I'm doing my character work, because I am a plotter. I do a lot of work beforehand. Andy knows that. She's like, yes. But as I was doing that work and I knew that I had a rapper, I fell into that, like that same stereotype, like, oh, well, my rapper, I'm thinking Lauryn Hill, I'm thinking Queen Latifah, like I'm thinking, really intellectual and not trading on sexuality, not having that be a part of their persona. And I had to like, what are you doing, like what are you saying? And there's a line, I think, in the book where Jameson is upset after he loses his job, and he says that the academics mistook what she did for who she was. And that is what I had been doing. And so I was like, this is her job. This is a woman who knows the industry, kind of like what I did with romance. Like, she researched the industry. She knows the industry. She unfortunately knows what she has to do. And she does it, and she's good at it. But that doesn't mean that that is all of who she is. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't deserve to have a happily ever after, that she doesn't deserve to be seen for all that she is and all that she brings to the table, to the conversation. So I'd fallen into that same thing. And then I was even more like, no, no, I'm looking at Cardi B. I'm looking at Megan. We're going to shake our ass and we still going to get our prince at the end. That's what we're going to do. So, yeah, I like doubled down. I was like going in the opposite direction.
I love it. I love it. I feel like you did that same work, particularly in the second book for Jameson as well, who is essentially seen as this royal, and that's all he can be, when he's in fact this very inward academic who wants this kind of quiet life and would rather not have that world.
Yes.
Right. So they're both on the other side of that coin, fighting to come toward each other. Yes.
And I also think there's just this perception that we've had that I think's now in modern times, and specifically after Harry and Meghan, this idea that royalty is it, like becoming a part of that family or being a royal is the ultimate. Like, so you would do anything, change anything. Why wouldn't someone want to be a prince? Why wouldn't someone want to be a princess? And I think what we have seen is that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. It can be nice. I'm not going to say that it's not, but there's a lot more that goes into it than we thought. And so maybe a little bit of people knowing what they're getting into before they agree to go into it. And I don't think that people now would make the same choices they would make years ago when we're watching Diana, first go down, or even Kate, like first go down the aisle.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the perception of a rapper and the perception of a royal and what that means. That's one of the number one, problems that can come up from bringing together a rapper and a royal, is breaking down those perceptions. But in writing this, there are plenty of other problems that they bumped into. Like, what are some of the other problems that, like, without spoiling, that you imagine can come up between a rapper and a royal falling in love?
Right. It wasn't even like the race thing. It was that they really were from two different worlds, right? And so there was a lot of thought about, well, how will the royals react to this? Well, how will the rap community, how will the hip hop community, how will the Black community like react to this, having to deal with that? And then just the issues, like Dani is very much about wanting to be in control of her life and her business and her decisions. And she falls in love with a man who's from a family that controls everything that they do, like down to what you wear and what you say and where you go. Like, I don't think that's, that don't seem like that mix, right? Like, so how do we get that to work? So those were like the issues that I wanted to deal with. And Jameson comes from this place of wanting to protect the women that he loved. And Dani is like, you gotta let me be. I gotta be me. I don't need you to protect me. Like, I can be my own person. I can take care of myself. So they had so much other stuff that they had to deal with outside of the whole rapper Prince thing. Like, that almost seems like the easiest part of everything. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it.
And speaking of Dani, like having her own thing, particularly with her cosmetic business, this comes into like kind of greater conflict in the second book, right? And some of the decisions that she makes around that. Can you talk about why it was important for you to have her own business and why it was particularly cosmetics?
Well, a lot of it is like you're trying to write a story, you need some conflict.
Yeah.
So the idea, so the idea for, in the beginning was that she was a rapper, but there was something else that she wanted to do. I was thinking about like the Dre Beats Apple deal, like how that just changed the game for him, made him one of like the richest men, like not even in hip hop, but just in general. And I wanted something like that for Danny. So it was a matter of thinking, what can she do? And obviously I have, Rihanna and Beyonce as inspirations of like what business Danny could do, but I am obsessed with skincare products. I am, I was a little Black girl who had dry, sensitive skin with parents who were like, we not paying $6 for Lubriderm. You better use that Vaseline and
all day, baby.
and make it work, which is like, what? And so like growing up and control of my own life and buying my own products, I am obsessed with skincare. And so I love the idea of just, making her a skincare person. Then that, goes into like all of the other stuff that comes from writing a Black woman point of view when you talk about hair and skincare and all of those things that might seem small, but help us to be seen on the page. And so it was really important to me to do that and not just do like clothes or something like that.
Do you see like a second career as like a skincare consultant?
Me?
Yeah.
I would love to. Please, internets.
Third career. Do you write the raps yourself?
I did.
Does Tracey have bars?
No.
Yeah,
No. That's like poetry, which, like those of us who write, I'm sure we have written some poetry in our day. That's what those are. Tracey cannot spit. Tracey cannot. Yeah, no.
I genuinely don't buy it. Like if I just right now
don't do it.
Beat, I feel like
don't let her fool you. Don't do it. Don't do it. No one wants to hear that. No one.
I don't want to hear that.
No, you don't. Trust me. I say that because I did it. I did it too.
Y'all, peer pressure works. Can we
No. I did it to give to the audiobook narrator for the first book. She was very kind. But in my head, I thought I was Danny and Duchess, and like listening to it, I was not. So no.
So we're not gonna get even like okay.
No.
Okay, but you touched on this really broad theme that I loved about the book, about both books, is this tension between, and honestly, like her being a rapper, I think did a lot of this work as well. This tension between autonomy and like particularly a woman whose desire is who's made her own life, right? And has built her own life and has her own like beauty and skincare, and this incredibly rigid infrastructure that she's coming into in which all of these decisions are made for her, right? And this tension that continues to like wind around this self-made person who desires a ton of autonomy, falling in love with a person who has essentially had none,
right,
even though he's incredibly wealthy.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. You did a thing.
Thank you.
Okay. If you were, okay, no, let's talk about STEAM.
Okay.
Let's talk about STEAM, y'all. This is a spicy book, ma'am. It is, they love each other.
They do.
And they can't get enough. Can you talk about your approach to kind of writing physical scenes and why they really like punch us in the gut so much? I'm asking for a friend.
Well, thank you. So in American royalty, I mean, they don't even get on the same page until like chapter 8 or 9 or whatever. And so, well, first there's a difference between like steam and the physical sex and sexual tension, right? try to build sexual tension from the beginning with these two people, which is why Jameson likes looking at videos of Danny and things happen. So a lot of sort of that stuff happened a little later in the book. With the Duchess Effect, I was starting with them already as a couple, already in love. And so, you know, people like, and they are hot. So people like that just get down wherever they can get down. And I wanted that to be like shown too, like the love is there, the chemistry is there. They want to be with each other. That is not the issue. So I didn't want coming into the book that, you know, that was a thing. Oh, they don't love each other or they're not into each other. No, they are into each other. They will always be into each other. But is that enough? I mean, that's what we write like romance for. Like, even there's a lot of steam in our books, but the point is that we are getting to a happily ever after. We're getting to a emotional connection. And so that is still what they are trying to get to, even while they have a physical connection.
Right.
But I will say that sex scenes I don't write them in the first draft. Actually, I'll put like insert sex scene here, pun intended. And and I don't even, you know, I can't even, because it's a mind space. Like, you just have to be in a mind space. And so generally,
you have to tell me exactly what you do to get. Come on. Do not play us on the internet. Don't do it.
I have like a little playlist, and I'll say, okay, this is going to be sex scene day. And I have a playlist, and I'll put the playlist on, and I will like close my eyes. This is so too much. I will close my eyes, and I'll put myself like in the space, and I will just start like typing and just let it flow and just let it come out. Just let it come out. And then later I'll go back and edit and put in all the technical stuff. But like, that's how I do it. I can't do it as I'm writing, because I'm thinking too much about conflict and all the stuff to make sure that the story is tightly paced and put together. But I do take like specific time to work on those scenes.
Oh, I love that idea of just lighting candles, just putting on some Barry White.
Not quite Barry White. And you are dating us now for Barry White.
Okay, so not Barry White.
Not Barry White. Okay. Although Secret Garden is good.
Come on.
I mean, that's a good one.
And
that might be on there.
When Barry White comes in, you're just like, okay, I'll allow it.
Yes.
So you've written an incredible amount of steam in this book, and particularly the way that they connect with each other, both physically and mentally. But like you mentioned before, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of things for them to kind of move through. Can you talk about like love in the spotlight and like how you think your characters manage that?
Yeah.
There's some mistakes made.
Mistakes were made. I am a pop culture junkie. I do like, I have a subscription to People magazine. I used to have a Us Weekly prescription. I had to let that one go. So, and I am on the Twitters, and I do see like what's being said. It's very difficult to have a relationship in the spotlight, I would imagine, with everybody feeling like they could weigh in on your choices. Like, I don't know how many of y'all are on Twitter now, but between Kiki's baby daddy, right, Haley and her situation, not even talking about Jonah Hill, like like these people's situations are debated up and down the threads. And I can imagine that if you are either one of those people, I'm not talking about Jonah, but like Kiki or Hallie, and you are seeing what people are saying about your relationship, that it has got to be tough. Like, maybe it's one of those situations. Also, been watching Love Island UK. I don't know who's watching that, with Ella and Tyreek. And so there's this, it could be a situation where like in private, he's the man you want him to be, but in public, he's showing his ass. And so you're seeing what people are saying about your relationship, and you're like, I know this man loves me, but nobody else knows it because they can't tell, and how hard that must be. And so I'm not worried about that, obviously, with Danny and Jameson, but I did think about how I did think about Meghan and Harry, and I thought about how Dani would feel being in this country, in this situation with her own agenda and having all of this negative press about how she's carrying herself and what they expect for, a girlfriend of Jameson and how she is not it. And then I had to throw in some stuff where they made comments about barbecues and hairs and things. And, like that could really weigh on a person. It may not influence Jameson, but it has to have Dani, have a second thought about what's going on. I mean, even like in their documentary, Meghan said several times that her friends and family were like, is he worth this? Like, this is some serious stuff. Is he worth it? And she ultimately decided that he was. But it's a really important question. And it's a really important issue, I thought, to bring up in this relationship specifically.
I love it. And along that line of questioning, what would you think is the most important thing that you would want readers to understand from reading The Duchess Effect?
Oh, so many things. I just thinking generally, like not them specific, just that there's still work after the HEA. Like we meet people and fall in love, and that's all wonderful. And our books tend to stop there, although we might throw in an epilogue a little bit later to make it seem like, oh, it's all wonderful. And it is. But there is still work that has to be done after the happily ever after. There is still work if you want that relationship to stay as beautiful as it was, or to get better, to get better than it was in the beginning.
I love that. Just to hop back on what you said before, particularly about the way that they treated Dani, and this was something that I was thinking of the whole time, and how it paralleled that treatment of Meghan in the press. And I'm wondering, particularly because you're writing this a little bit before all of this happened, is this something that you anticipated would happen? Like, how did you?
No, I mean, I'm seeing the headlines because I'm writing it after they're married. Okay. So I'm seeing some of the shift, right? How it started all glowing and it was lovely. And then they turned the corner and it was not. But again, I'm trying to write this book in, a realistic world. It's, a romance novel, but still being realistic about it and thinking about who she is. I mean, let's be real, like Meghan Markle is fair-skinned. She's biracial. A lot of people didn't even know that she was half Black. They just thought she was, Italian or tan or something, I can't, American boy, but that's a Black woman. You can't like deny that's who that is. And so the coverage is, was going to play on that. There's not going to be any ambiguity about who this woman is. And and Meghan just had suits. I mean, Dani was shaking her ass for years. Exactly. Live and in video. So, again, there's no mistaking who this woman is. And so to pretend that would not be an issue in the media, especially what we know about the British tabloids, like that would be doing an injustice to you guys, and to Dani, to pretend like that's not something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So we talked about the conflict. We talked about the stain. For you, what was the most fun thing to write in this book?
I really like the scenes where Dani was bringing her culture to Jameson because because I feel like in these books the emphasis would be on turning Dani royal, and while that's all nice and fun, and I love a good makeover, as in the book, as everyone else, but I didn't want that to be all it is, because they're going to be in each other's world. So I like Dani saying, I'm going to give you a dress makeover. I liked when they, played some spades. That was like one of my favorite scenes to write. My editor was like, you're not teaching people how to write spades, so you can take some of this out. Like, we don't need I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because she's like, we don't need all that. That was fun. I loved, even though it's it comes at a testy time.
Yeah.
I love the regatta scene. I love Danny just being like, all right, then you have a problem with my hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How I'm dressed? Okay. I got you. Yeah.
Boom.
And I'm going to
No
go.
spoilers, but
Yes.
get into it.
Yeah. I'm going to bring a little band through and I'm going to have her dance. And yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes too. So yeah.
Those moments of defiance, those moments of closeness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I love it. I have a little bit of a game.
And
that
was
let me
actual
tell you,
excitement. I love that.
This is we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about fake royals and fake aristocracy. And I'm going to give Tracey
Oh God. It's like a test.
a few hints about these fake royals, and she has to guess who the fake royal is.
Oh my God. It's a
And
test.
it's not like she's gonna lose any street cred for not getting these correct. It's not like anyone's gonna judge her.
I know.
So please, there's no pressure.
No.
Just so you know.
Stomach.
So after this, we'll take some audience questions. So the first question is, this fake royal famously called for UNITY in the 90s.
Oh, Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Okay. Destiny was worried. She was like, I don't know. Okay.
This fake royal wore heels, was fantastic at basketball, and begged his lover to act her age and not her shoe size.
Oh, Prince. Yes. Was he good at basketball?
He was fantastic at basketball.
I did not know that.
Yes. It was his one lament in life that he wasn't tall enough to play basketball. Apparently he could cook him on the court too.
I'm sure he could.
Are you kidding? He's like an athlete.
That was
that's
right. Yes, that's right. He did that. Yes.
Oh yeah, Charlie Murphy's story was actually about basketball. I got the basketball thing from his first wife, who said that he would just like sit on the court and just like ball out for hours and hours. And he was just like, he would wear his heels because he's like, I'm going to murder.
Sure he did.
Okay. This fake aristocrat popularized big butts.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Oh my God, if I got that wrong.
This fake aristocrat said to get to Harlem, take the A train.
Oh my God.
It's a little tough.
This is tough.
Jazz musician, Harlem Renaissance.
Count. Duke. Okay. Thank you. This is audience participation. Thank you.
They saved you. They saved you.
They did. Thank you.
Okay. This fake royal is also fantastic at basketball and hails from Akron, Ohio.
Oh, LeBron. Yes. There we go.
King James.
Yes.
LeBron James.
Yes.
Okay, just two more. I know my LeBron. This fake aristocrat's fans are called little monsters.
Oh, Lady Gaga.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, you know that. Okay, this is the last one. This band had an operatic song featured in Wayne's World.
Oh, Queen, right?
Queen.
Yeah. My husband would kill me if I got that wrong. I couldn't go home tonight if I got that one wrong.
You really know your fake royals.
I do.
I was really trying to stump you, but
you did once, but then I got some help.
You did.
Yes.
You phoned a friend.
I did.
That's great. Okay, so I want to open up the floor for you guys' questions, commentary, discussions. Let's get into it. Okay, ma'am, Erica.
Yes.
So, and actually, it's probably for both of you. Y'all both have a gift of authentically, beautifully, and boldly writing about Black women falling in love, right? And in spaces that I don't historically see them in. So these are more than books for me because I see myself in like the little things that matter. I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way, specifically as a Black woman who loves romance. Do y'all ever feel like that mantle is too heavy?
Let me repeat the question for those online. One, Erica said that Tracey and I are both dope. That was the beginning of the question. So,
Exact words. Exact
Exact words.
words. That's what I heard. That
word
is
for
what
word.
I heard.
And
I heard that
the
too.
part of that question is it hard to kind of think about constantly like representing Black women and Black romance in these particular ways, or is it feel like a mantle or maybe an albatross, right?
Mm, mm. Uh, I try not to think about it that way. One of the things about opening up romance is understanding that I can't write all Black women experiences. Nikki can't write all Black women's experiences. Andy can't write all Black or biracial women's experiences. Like, we have a point of view, just like every other author. And the point of opening up romance is so that all of us can get in and write our stories and write our point of views, which will be different because we are different people. Yeah. That is what's important to me, is making sure that if I'm writing my story, being true to who I am as a writer and the characters I want to put into the world, if that helps me to like put my foot out and keep the door open a little bit longer to let others come in so that they can share their story and their viewpoint, that is what's important to me. That is not a heavy mantle to bear. I'd bear it proudly. If I could put my whole body in the door, if I could like go horizontal, like I will do whatever is necessary, because I don't want to be the only one writing the stories. I don't want the mantle of having to write every Black woman's experience. That mantle would be too heavy to bear.
She my sister, she ain't heavy. Right? Couple of things that I will say about that. I feel like one thing that Dani does in both books is she's not only like is bravely herself, but she also makes mistakes. She makes mistakes and is still at the same time like deeply worthy of love. And so like the reason why I feel like that's a little revolutionary is that oftentimes as Black women, and oftentimes like even as women, like we are, this kind of superwoman. Like you're working at home and you're teaching your children and like you're writing a story. And like there's this sense of like you can't tire, you can't make mistakes, you can't fuck up. Yeah. Essentially. Like Lisa in Pride and Protest, like her first time she meets this person, like completely misrepresents him and thinks that he's the waiter, because he's in this neighborhood and he can't be rich here. And she's like, wait a minute, I know exactly who you are, but she didn't know exactly who he was at all. And she made this, gigantic mistake. And yet, right, still got the love that she deserved. And so did Dani, who made mistakes and still managed to get the love that she deserves. So if anything, I would say that like part of the work is chipping away at what can be for Black women this dangerous sense of like you cannot show vulnerability, you cannot like mess up once, or somehow that the love that you want is going to slip between your fingers. Sometimes it's there for exactly who you are, right? And not like this perfect person that you have to be,
Yes, agree.
Question. I saw what? Oh, yes.
So you talked a little bit about how kind of like our changing nation, what we think about royalty has changed the royal romance. And I'm just wondering if you could kind of reflect more broadly. I think you've been writing and publishing for like 10-ish years. How the genre has changed over the past decade.
Encyclopedia Brown.
Well, no, I was like, that's not a question for sober Tracey. That's a question for that's a extra dirty martini with olives. It's changed in good and in bad ways. It's changed good in the good way, in that there are more authors of color, more diverse stories. I love that. That is amazing. And not diverse just meaning Black and white, but just other cultures, like reading some books and learning things that I didn't even like know before. I love that. And I think that's one of the best things about romance, is that it allows you to be able to be empathetic to other people because you're reading the story of love. And since we all experience some of the same things and finding love, you realize, oh, we're more alike than we are different. So having those voices and stories be there is great. This is like an old woman answering this question. the genre continually gets a lot of new readers into it, which is lovely because we want to keep growing. And I love the romance genre. But sometimes when new readers come in, they're not aware of the history that they're stepping into. And suddenly the genre that you love doesn't quite look like the genre that you love anymore. And so that's why I say I'm saying that as an old person, because I realize that in some ways we may have to adapt or change. But that has been for me, as someone who feels like she's still new here, to realize that the genre is shifting and changing, sometimes beneath my feet. And I'm still trying to figure out how to tell my stories, how to have my POV and voice be heard. In a environment where maybe it is not as wanted as it used to be. Somebody say something happy, because that felt like a little bit of a downer. No,
it was great.
no. I mean, it's important. We have to talk about it too. We just don't always have like the spaces to talk about it, but it is. That's what's happening.
So yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm also a skincare nerd.
Okay.
What do you think is your hero product, or what's your favorite brand?
Ooh, okay. So
We're repeating the question.
yes.
Sorry, there are two questions I have to repeat. The first question was about the change of the romance genre over time. And this question now is about skincare tips and information that Tracey can share with us with the internet.
Yes, with the internet. So I am like a product junkie, but I'm like, what is it? It's like I'm a serial monogamist. So I find something I like and I use it until I like can't stand it anymore, and then I move on to something else. But for me, like a good shower gel, because I have dry, sensitive skin. So a good shower gel is really important. I love right now Lush products because I like scents. I love scents so much. I like to smell like a fruit cocktail when I get out of the shower. I do. So Lush, but I'm getting sick of them on my last bottle, and then I'm getting ready to go back to Philosophy, which is a good palette cleanser before I try something else. So a good shower gel, and then something else that I got off of Jackie Einer, who is a YouTube beauty goddess, is putting oil on in the shower before I get out, and then doing lotion or some sort of body cream when I get out. And then I just get out, I'm all just oily and glistening. And then I go sit on the couch and get it all on the couch, but that's all right. It's my house. But, and so, yes, I said Lush, Philosophy. The oil is Silk and Noir. They're like I found them on Instagram and I am loving it. I'm using the citrus marshmallow. So if you smelled fruitiness, that is all me. And then like for my face, moisturizer. Like if I wash my face and don't moisturize, I feel it like 5 minutes later. So I always have to do a moisturizer. And I really like, I don't know if I pronounce it right, but Tatcha is what I'm using right now. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. It's so good. Yes, that's where I am now.
I think
So,
there's a
okay.
hand here and then there. And I think there's,
All the questions. Come on.
Okay, so just so I can remember the order. Here, yourself, fantastic blue dress back here, and burgundy dress. Okay, there we go.
I have a comment and then a question.
Okay.
Comment is, I love the fashion. I enjoyed the fashion stuff. And so your Instagram post where you talk about the inspiration has been super, super
Thank
fun.
you.
I opted not to wear a plunging top today, but I haven't got it. I like it.
Love
Yeah.
the blue. Yes.
Does have a new book out, and I've read it and enjoyed it already. So I'm already thinking about the next one. Does Reese get a book because he is
I know.
The question was about whether Reese gets a book and whether he deserves happiness. Tell us.
Does Reese deserve happiness? Reese does deserve happiness. I do want to write a Reese book. So when I started American Royalty, the idea was it was going to follow like my other series, right? So clearly the second book was going to be Nyla and Reese. And then the third book, which you didn't get a hint of. And so this book was supposed to be Liam and Yoli. That was sort of the plan. And yet halfway through American Royalty, I'm like, oh no, like they need more time. Like I feel like I got another book that I could do with them. So it pushed that sort of to the side. It's a business, y'all. So like I would love to write Jameson. I'm not Jameson. See, I can't. I'm sorry.
Reese.
I'm sorry, Jameson. I know. I was like, I can't quit him yet. I would like to write Nyla and Reese's story. I have an idea of what it could be. I think it just depends on, like, for everything, how the books do. So I've been telling people on Instagram, like, just, you know, tag at Avon Books and be like, where's Nyla and Reese? And then when they look at me, I'd be like, the people want to know. I'm ready.
Peer pressure works.
Yes.
Peer pressure works.
It does. But I do. I believe they have a good story.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
You forgot didn't we have an order?
Oh, yeah. So it was her.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Okay. That's why I just sit here.
Writing for really fun.
Mhm.
Come back. Did you have a celebrity or
Just to repeat the question quickly, the question was about Samantha Banks and whether Tracey had a celebrity in mind for that character.
This answer could get me canceled so
Yes. Speaking to the flower lapel.
fast. Okay, so just to keep it 100 with y'all. The inspiration for Samantha Banks, the idea of her came from this Twitter feud. Was not even really a feud, and they are fine now. So please don't come back with me. But it was this little flare up between Nicki Minaj and Taylor Swift. I don't even want to bring it up because they've squashed it. They're good. I don't even want to bring it up. And y'all know how romance is feeling about Taylor these days. The fact that I even like besmirch her name. Oh my God. You are not getting that Reese book. I'm so sorry. This is done. But the idea of sort of that came from that. It was a really brief little thing. But they settled it. But the idea of that came to me. And then like her, I was a little bit Katy Perry, like with the hair color and, you know, some things. It was a little bit Katy Perry. And that's kind of where that sort of came from. Someone said something's really interesting that I hadn't put together is that I named her Samantha Banks. And then they were like, but it feels like Samantha Markle. And I was like, I didn't even, that one. See, that brain be working. I didn't even like, I didn't even see that. It must have been. Yeah. Cause I totally wouldn't have said that, but that's where Samantha Banks came from.
I love it. Yes, ma'am.
So you said earlier you're not sure if your POV is still wanted. It is.
Oh.
So what is next for you?
Thank you.
The question is,
you.
what is next for Tracey?
Who's next for Tracey? I did this romance holiday anthology with Andy and some other authors. Wait a minute. No. Years ago. I'm sorry. Years ago. But all of those, it was called Reindeer Games. And I believe the proceeds went to benefit a domestic violence shelter. Feed the children. Okay. So that was like several years ago. And then all of the authors got their novellas back and put them up since then, Andy included. I was just a little bit slow. So I am doing that this holiday. So there will be a holiday novella from me. And then American Royalty and Duchess Effect sort of slid into a series I had already been working on, which was my Girls Trip series. And so the third book for that one is coming next. Then, thank you. Yeah, I know. Yes, that is next. And then, there's another book for that one.
Yeah.
But if I could slide in another American royalty after that, I would love to do that. So we'll see.
I love it. Oh, yes. Are there any
Oh.
virtual questions?
Okay.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Have to go ahead and tag to get another girls trip.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
How your covers are so beautiful. I know there's this little cover thing in romance with like people or cartoon, and you like have it illustrated but not quite cartoon. I was
Mhm.
wondering if that was intentional, and then how much control you have over that. I think they're beautiful.
Thank you. I got
Just to quickly
Oh, yes. I'm
repeat the question. The question was essentially that the covers are gorgeous and they're completely giving. And do you have any control of that?
I like how you do the exact wording of the question. Exact wording.
Exact translation
Exact
of
wording. So thank you, by the way. I got really lucky with the covers for these books. Eric Davila is my cover artist, and he is amazing. He's so good. I have a little bit. Well, I probably have a lot more than I think I do. For American Royalty, I wanted it to look like a magazine cover. And so because I am me, I had done this whole PowerPoint and I'd gotten all these magazine covers and was like, this is what I want. And then we submitted that to Eric and he gave us that cover that he did. Sometimes like the publisher will have some notes, like I think it's more sales in publishing. They're like, we think this might look better. We think that might look better. But thankfully, for the most part, they have left it like, I get it. I'm like, I love it. Can we change these little things? And then they do. And that's what I got. And I didn't want cartoon. I wanted the illustrated, but I still wanted it like Danny now to me is that picture. Like I know that's not like a real person. It's kind of a little bit Megan, but that is Danny to me. And that's what I wanted it to look like.
Love it. Now, any questions from the virtual community? No?
Oh,
awesome.
She's like, I don't know how many ways I can say. No.
I have one more question. She was like, we have time for one more. Okay. I have one more question. If there's a room for someone else to. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My love scene?
No, the love scene. That's what you meant.
No, you mean the American royalty. No, you mean the American royalty playlist, the one that I had to, that I made when they wouldn't let me use the actual lyrics for the chapter. I just Cardi B and Money. That's just, just love that. I love that song so much. Yeah.
Okay. Just like, honestly, there's this line that I thought was genius. She said, like, I got a baby. I need some money.
I need money for my
eggs. Come on. That's just for my eggs. Come on.
I mean, that's just Cardi. Like, I need money because I need my kid needs cheese on her eggs. I mean, as we all know, right? So it's really important. It is important. If I have to make my ass clap to get some cheese on the eggs, then you do what you have to do. Provider. She's a provider.
Okay. Last wrap up question. We're just wrapping it up. Let's say we're at a seance 100 years from now, and we have to summon Tracey. Give us 5 books to summon Tracey. Just like this, you'll absolutely come to us if we give you these books.
If you give me, that's no fair. That's so hard. I need to prepare for that question.
5 books.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe 2.
Oh, it's still hard. No, it would have to, I mean, it's going to be like mostly romance.
Sure.
So, any sort of romance, hopefully they are diverse. And for my grandma, I'm going to add the Bible, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't need it, but my grandma.
Yes, exactly.
My grandma.
The Bible's going to be at the same time.
Yeah. My grandma.
I love it. Romance, the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we covered all our bases. World Wide Web. That's great. Thank you all so much.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. Okay, so obviously, well, first of all, can we get another huge round of applause?
Guys, thank you.
Yay! Okay, so I'm just gonna get the table out so that Tracey and Nikki can sign your books. And if you could help us out by just folding the chairs and putting them on the side, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Books for sale upstairs if you haven't got one already.
Yeah.